The briefing room was a cavernous space built for intimidation. Its sheer size and the cool metallic surfaces seemed designed to amplify the echoes of our heavy boots. As we marched toward our assigned positions, it was a tactic as old as our civilization, and it held a brutal efficiency that was seldom ineffective. But this time, something felt different. Veteran warriors filled the ranks. Their scales burnished to a high sheen, and the ridges of their battle crests hardened from countless campaigns. I too was a veteran, of no small renown. From the frigid outposts of the galactic rim to the radiation-blasted plains of Xylus Prime, I had proven my worth on the battlefield countless as stars. Yet, I felt an unfamiliar tension coiling in my gut, like a venomous serpent. Our commander strode to the central podium, his powerful frame rippling with barely contained energy. "You are," his voice boomed, amplified and resonating against the metallic walls, "the finest warriors this sector has ever produced. You have carved victories from the cold void and forced submission from civilizations that made our ancestors look like hatchlings." A ripple of pride surged through the ranks, yet it did little to temper my unease. This was not the bravado that preceded a standard campaign. This was something laced with urgency, even a trace of fear. "The mission you embark on today is like none other," our commander continued. "The Argonita system harbors a planet teeming with sentient life. This enemy is as numerous as the sands of Karthos. Yet they are—" He paused, as if searching for the right words. "Primitive." A murmur of puzzled anticipation ran through the room. We were an ancient warrior race, our technology bordered on the miraculous, born of innovation and the relentless pursuit of victory. To call an entire species primitive was not a flippant insult. It was a calculated observation, and a troubling one at that. The commander projected a holographic image of the planet, its lush green continents and swirling blue oceans, a stark contrast against the cold blackness of space. Zooming in, the image resolved into crude settlements, the structures haphazard, and the technology centuries behind our own. "This species, these humans, as they call themselves, possess none of the advantages that have secured our dominance over the stars," he stated. "They are small and physically unimpressive. Their weapons are archaic, and their understanding of warfare is rudimentary at best." A sense of relief washed over the ranks. This is what we were born for, to bring order to chaos, to dominate the inferior. Such conquests were practically a rite of passage, yet the commander's tone remained grave. "Do not," he warned, his voice a low growl, "make the mistake of underestimating them." Now we were paying attention. Our hubris was legendary, but not even the most arrogant among us would take a foe lightly before a blade was drawn. "7 cycles ago," the commander continued, "a routine extraction mission descended into slaughter. A single human, wielding nothing more than a kinetic projectile weapon, eliminated an entire strike force." The room erupted in scoffs and disbelieving murmurs. We had faced nightmares from the darkest corners of the galaxy, towering insectoid behemoths, psionic predators that could tear into the very fabric of reality, yet the concept of a single primitive creature annihilating a seasoned strike force seemed ludicrous. The commander silenced the dissent with a wave of his hand. "You disbelieve? So did the extraction team. Now their husks lie rotting on that forgotten world." His eyes, burning with an intensity I had rarely witnessed, swept over the room. "Their deaths bought us precious data, and what it reveals is deeply unsettling. "These humans," he said, his voice low and deliberate, "possess a resilience that defies all logic and understanding. Their skeletal framework is surprisingly strong for its density. Their wounds, though grievous, often fail to incapacitate them in any meaningful way. And worst of all," he paused, the silence heavy in the room, "they seem to draw a perverse strength from combat itself. Pain seems to fuel rather than hinder them." He allowed this information to sink in, his words cutting through our ingrained sense of superiority. "During the initial skirmish, post-battle analysis revealed something even more disturbing," he continued. "The fallen strike team inflicted wounds that would cripple or kill most known species. Yet, these humans fought on, their bodies seemingly fueled by some primal, indomitable will." A shudder rippled through me. We prided ourselves on our discipline and martial prowess. To face a foe that thrived on pain, for whom death itself was merely a temporary inconvenience, it was a concept entirely foreign to our way of war. "You will engage these humans with overwhelming force," the commander ordered, his voice echoing in the vastness of the briefing room. "Do not hesitate. Do not falter. Their weapons may be crude, but their will is an inferno that would consume the galaxy if left unchecked. Remember." He paused, each word laced with venom. "These creatures are not our prey. We are theirs." With that chilling declaration, the briefing ended. As we marched out, the usual boisterous camaraderie was replaced with a grim determination. The image of a wounded but defiant human, snarling in the face of certain death, was seared into my mind, a stark reminder of the perilous mission that lay ahead. The descent onto the humans' homeworld was an assault on the senses. The atmosphere, thick and acrid, burned the lungs, while the incessant rumble of their primitive machines hammered at the ears. Even through the armored shell of our dropship, the chaos of this world was palpable. Our objective was the nexus of crude structures the humans referred to as a city, a sprawling hive of activity teeming with insignificant lives. Extraction teams were dispatched with ruthless efficiency, tasked with scouring these squalid settlements for anything of intelligence value. I, along with my unit, was charged with securing and holding their central command hub, a monolithic tower that pierced the smog-choked sky. Initially, the invasion seemed laughably easy. The humans were clearly caught off guard, their pathetic defenses crumbling before our concentrated firepower. Their soldiers were a far cry from anything we'd ever faced. Soft, poorly armored creatures that fell in droves to our plasma lances. Yet, there was a disturbing intensity behind their eyes, a desperate fervor that belied their weakness. And then, the tide turned. From hidden alleyways, crude explosives rained down on our formations. Sharpened metal projectiles whizzed from unseen vantage points, punching through armor designed to deflect starship-grade weaponry. Ambushes flared in the choking haze, and every shadow seemed to conceal a desperate enemy, their weapons spitting in defiance. What they lacked in power, they made up for in sheer tenacity and horrifying adaptability. Their tactics were unorthodox, unpredictable, and they learned from their mistakes with unsettling swiftness. I saw comrades, warriors who had battled titans on the nebula's edge, cut down in moments. Their blood, strangely crimson and far too viscous, soaked the alien earth. My unit was slowly being whittled down as I desperately tried to maintain order amid the madness. A blast rocked the structure we had occupied, sending tremors through the floor and throwing debris into the air. In the ensuing chaos, I was separated from my unit and found myself pinned beneath a heavy slab of duracrete. My leg was crushed. The pain, a white-hot agony that pulsed through my body. As I struggled to free myself, the sounds of battle raged around me. Through the haze of pain and the haze of battle, I saw it. A human. But this was no ordinary soldier. This one towered over me, muscles rippling beneath skin marked with crude, ritualistic markings. Its eyes blazed with a fury that promised nothing but agonizing death. Desperation flooded my veins. I was a cornered animal, facing not just a predator, but something far more primal. With the strength I didn't know I possessed, I shoved the debris aside and staggered to my feet, drawing my sidearm. It felt pitifully inadequate against the human that stalked towards me, a crude metal club held high. But it was all I had. The human roared, a guttural sound that sent primal chills down my spine. I squeezed the trigger, again and again and again. The energy blast striking the human square into the chest. It should have been vaporized, yet it merely staggered back a step, its eyes widening in what appeared to be surprised pain. I fired until my sidearm clicked empty, and still the wounded creature advanced. It lunged, and the world exploded into darkness. Consciousness returned in jolting flashes, a blinding headache, the stench of burnt flesh, and the dull ache of my shattered leg. Through the haze, I could make out figures bending over me, their voices low and urgent. Had I been captured? Was it all over? A warrior's end replaced by the shame of becoming a prisoner? Then my vision became clear. I was not surrounded by the hairless faces of my enemy, but the rigid crests of my own brethren. Relief washed over me, then a wave of sick horror. How had I survived? Had they disobeyed orders to save a comrade who likely deserved death? His vitals are remarkable, someone muttered. My body was being prodded and examined, a sense of clinical detachment in the voices that discussed my fate. The humans, a voice whispered. They left him alive, deliberately. I thrashed against the restraining hands, my pride as wounded as my flesh. To be a trophy, a testament to human ferocity, the shame of it was unbearable. Commander wants to see him, one of the voices declared, cutting through my tortured thoughts. Was this to be my punishment? My end finally come at the hands of my own? Supported by my comrades, I limped through the war-torn corridors toward the command center. What awaited me I could not guess, but I was filled with an unholy dread that went beyond any fear of death. As I entered the command center, screens flickered with images of the battlefield, scenes of utter carnage. But it was not our losses that held everyone's attention. It was a single feed focused on the aftermath of my own near-fatal encounter. There, kneeling amidst the debris, was a human who had spared me. In its hands, not a weapon, but a crude medical device. It was treating the injuries of a fallen comrade. My mind buzzed, unable to reconcile the images with everything I had been told. The ferocious beast who should have crushed my skull was now a figure of mercy? It defied every fiber of our warrior logic. Why? I croaked, my voice barely a rasp. Why did it spare me? The room was silent, filled only by the crackling of battle reports from across the field. Even the commander could offer no answer. Their transmissions. A communications officer spoke up tentatively. They speak of rules, things called mercy, Geneva Conventions. I stared at the human on the screen, at the gentle way it bound its comrades' wounds. These concepts, mercy, rules even in the heart of war, were entirely alien to us. The image flickered, and my breath hitched. The human, its task finished, turned. Its eyes, the same eyes that had held a warrior's fury mere moments ago, locked directly with the camera, right through me. There was a defiance in its gaze, yes, but something else, something I hesitated to name. Pity. The screen went black. "We have underestimated them," our commander finally said, the weight of the galaxy in his voice. "Not in strength, but in spirit." He turned his ancient eyes to me. "You will tell us what you saw, what you endured, everything." As I began my halting account, something profound started to shift within me. It was not fear or even anger, but a creeping unease. For the first time in my long life as a warrior, a terrifying possibility blossomed in my mind. What if we were the monsters? My words fell heavy in the command center, painting a picture of unflinching resolve and unexpected compassion that contradicted the very foundations of our warrior culture. We were used to seeing desperation and abject terror in the eyes of our enemies, a reflection of our own might, yet in these humans I had caught a glimpse of something else entirely. A defiant spirit, bound by the rules of conduct born not from weakness, but from a strength we couldn't comprehend. "They are relentless," I continued, my voice rough with the memory of the battle. "Their wounded continue to fight long after they should fall. And when a comrade is struck down," my voice faltered as I recalled the image of the human warrior tending to its fallen brother in arms. "They possess a ferocity born out of protection, not just aggression." Silence settled like a suffocating shroud. We had spent generations traveling all the stars, bringing civilizations to heel with overwhelming force and technological superiority. Our methods were brutal, efficient, and unyielding. But now, doubt crept into the cracks of our ironclad certainty. "We believed them weak," the commander admitted, his voice a low rumble. "We thought their mercy was a sign of fragility, their resilience a fool's delusion." He turned to address the assembled warriors, his voice echoing with both shame and a desperate need for understanding. "We were wrong." The room erupted in a cacophony of hushed whispers. These humans, these insignificant creatures, were not just resisting conquest. They were challenging the very core of our belief system. They mirrored back to us an unsettling image, an unexpected reflection that we could not yet clearly define. "Their numbers are vast, their resolve unyielding," I added, knowing that these truths held only a part of the terrifying equation. "And somewhere within them lies a spirit unbound by her own understanding of war." News of our miscalculation spread like wildfire through the beleaguered invasion force. The initial arrogance that had fueled our assault gave way to a grim resignation. We had stumbled into a conflict that defied all our established rules of engagement. The battle for this primitive world had become a fight not merely for survival, but for the very definition of our warrior code. In the weeks that followed, the human resistance only intensified. Their tactics grew bolder, their understanding of our weaknesses more alarmingly accurate. Each skirmish, each encounter, chipped away at our sense of superiority until it lay in shattered pieces at our feet. The transmissions we intercepted revealed the full extent of our miscalculation. Their talk of war crimes and violations of protocols were dismissed at first as the desperate bluster of a cornered prey. But as reports of our more savage tactics began to circulate, a chilling realization set in. The humans were not merely fighting for their survival. They were fighting for an ideal we neither shared nor understood. The final blow came with unprecedented speed. They struck not at our troops or our fortifications, but at the very heart of our invasion infrastructure. Sabotage teams infiltrated our orbital platforms, crippling our communications and severing our lifelines to the fleet. It was a master stroke of strategy and ruthlessness, executed with unnerving precision. As our world crumbled around us, I found myself on the front lines once more. This time, there was no sense of conquest in my veins, only the grim determination of a soldier facing the inevitable. The humans surged forward, a wave of disciplined fury, and amidst them, towering over his kin, moved the warrior who had spared my life. Our eyes met across the battlefield. There was no pity in his gaze now, only the cold finality of a warrior prepared to deliver a killing blow. And for the first time, I felt no anger, no hatred towards this enemy, who embodied everything we were not. Only a profound understanding that, in this conflict, we were not the righteous victors. We were the invaders, the aggressors, and we were about to lose. The final battle was a blur of chaos and desperation. Our once proud formations shattered under relentless human assault. Each warrior fought with valor, yet it felt like nothing more than a futile attempt to stem a cosmic tide. Even our most potent weapons seemed mere annoyances against the wave of crude metal and burning determination. Amidst the maelstrom, I found myself face to face with the human warrior once again. This time, there would be no quarter given, no act of mercy spared. He moved with a shocking, almost berserker-like intensity, his crude club shattering the shield of a comrade beside me. I braced for the killing blow, but it never came. A blinding flash of light erupted, followed by a deafening roar that ripped through the air. The battlefield seemed to dissolve, consumed by a searching wave of force. The next thing I remember is the darkness and the silence. When I awoke, it was a scene beyond my comprehension. The human lines had retreated, leaving devastation in their wake. Twisted scraps of our dropships smoldered, the metallic stench of destruction thick in the air. Amongst the carnage lay our fallen warriors, their proud crests forever dimmed. Yet, the humans had left our wounded alive. Crude field dressings covered their injuries, a testament to a battlefield grace we could scarcely fathom. As I staggered to my feet, my eyes focused on an impossibly crude metal structure that had been erected amidst the ruins. Impaled upon its sharpened tip was the body of our commander, his eyes wide, with a horror that mirrored my own. A message was scrawled below in crimson, the human script primitive yet unmistakable. Leave this world. Do not return. It was a message that held the weight of an empire's collapse. We had come to this planet seeking dominion, and we were leaving with nothing but shame and a profound existential wound. We had ventured forth believing in our own exceptionalism, in the righteousness of our cause, a cause that had shattered against the unwavering spirit of a people we had tragically misunderstood. The Argonita Brief would be rewritten, a testament not to our glorious victory, but to a catastrophic defeat. A brutal lesson was seared into our collective memory, reminding us that even the mightiest starfaring civilizations could be humbled by the indomitable will to survive, and by a strange and potent compassion that we still did not comprehend. And perhaps the most difficult lesson of all, sometimes victory lies not in conquest, but in the courage to change course. When I awoke, it was to a scene that defied all expectations. Human medics hovered over me, their crude tools working in tandem with a surprisingly advanced bioregenerative technology. My wounds were being treated, my shattered leg stabilized. I lay in the heart of the enemy camp, not as a prisoner, but as a patient. Days blurred into one another. A fevered haze of pain, alien medication, and the uncomfortable sensation of owing my life to the very beings I had been sent to dominate. Yet, in the eyes of those around me, I found no gloating, no malice, only a weary efficiency as they toiled tirelessly to save both their own kind and their fallen foes. Then, once again, I saw him. The human who had broken me, yet spared my life. He moved through the makeshift hospital, a warrior without a weapon, tending to the wounded with the same ferocity he'd display in battle. Our eyes met across the expanse of injured bodies, and in that moment, something shifted. In his gaze, I saw not just the righteous fury of a defender, but a deep weariness. A weariness born of a conflict that had no easy answers. And mirroring his own unspoken questions, a flicker of doubt ignited within me. Were we the righteous ones? Or had we become the blindly destructive force we had always claimed to fight against? One morning, I awoke to find a crude tablet placed beside my cot. On it, alongside the strange human script, was a message, clumsily translated in my own language. Leave this world. We can do better. It was not a plea for mercy, nor a victor's declaration. It was an outstretched hand, an acknowledgement that we were both trapped in a cycle of violence neither of us had truly chosen. As the human ships ferried our wounded back to our shattered fleet, I looked down at the desolate world with a heavy heart. We were leaving defeated, yet in this humbling defeat there lay a seed of something more profound. A possibility that perhaps, just perhaps, dialogue could one day replace destruction. The Argonita Brief would be a tale forever etched in our history, not just as a testament to human resilience, but to the fragile hope that understanding might eventually prevail over annihilation.